If you ever have to go through the pain of divorce, you can take some solace in the fact that the system for splitting up here in Clark County is a model for others to follow. Not every community has a family court division, and ours goes to great lengths to empower the growing number of people who can't afford a divorce lawyer. They're called self-represented litigants. One thing you should know going in, while we've all heard of couples fighting over money and assets, here in Nevada, the red ink is split right down the middle too. In tonight's special report, when couples who spend together don't stay together, they become bound by a new vow, till death do us part.
Then you take this ring and put it on his finger again and say, with this ring.
With this ring.
This is not the first time around the block for Frank and Melissa Presti. They said those same words to each other 17 years ago. They're here to renew their vows at the Little White Wedding Chapel. This ceremony almost never happened because of the #1 reason married couples fight.
I can look back and remember the fights. Over money and balancing the checkbook.
Something had to give, so they untangled their financial lives 10 years ago, severing the money ties to save the ones they value more.
So we separated our accounts together, and that's working out great, I think. So if everybody would do it, I bet their marriages would probably last longer.
It's an arrangement that works for them, proven again by a surprise purchase just before this journey to reconnect.
I just bought a motorcycle without letting her know it.
But it was his budget. He budgeted. It's his payment.
Till death do you part. Screw that. We got our own debt.
As long as they never do part. Those are the rules in their system, but not the court system. In the eyes of the law, she's on the hook for half of that bike loan. Which is why it's good Frank and Melissa are sticking together. Couples who don't wind up here. Clark County District Court, Family Division.
I have to tell you, during the divorces these days, especially with tough economic times, we see a lot of debt.
We've all heard of community property, all the money and income and stuff divorcing couples fight over. Its lesser known, but just as significant counterpart is community debt.
So from the day you get married to the day you get divorced, that's considered community debt.
And paying off community debt only gets harder when the community crumbles.
The same income that they had living in one household doesn't spread as far as it used to, so it makes it really difficult.
Sometimes even impossible when there's not enough money to pay all the bills, leaving the marriage not only broken, but bankrupt.
People need to eat. They need to have shelter and they need to feed their children, and so credit cards oftentimes don't get paid.
After my divorce, we both filed bankruptcy, so we both basically had to start completely over.
It happens all the time.
And leads to bankruptcy?
Yes, it does.
Tom Standish is one of the most respected and sought-after divorce attorneys in town.
Yes, it is a problem in the smallest of cases with not very much in assets or the largest estates.
And he's represented plenty of clients who were blindsided by spousal spending they did not know about.
And so somebody could have credit cards sent, say, to their office instead of the home, and the spouse might not know about it. Yeah. The credit reporting agencies cannot tell somebody like me or you about somebody else's debt.
Even if it's your spouse?
Correct.
There is one exception to the rule that debt should be evenly divided. The legal term is marital waste, and it's a very strict standard.
While someone may say she spent too much during the marriage, or he bought, an expensive car, something to that effect, it's not really about that.
And in a state where gambling is part of life, that doesn't count either. But lavish spending might if it's showered on one of the reasons for the breakup.
If one of the spouses spends money on a boyfriend or a girlfriend, there's just no way to argue that the community has benefited from that. It's sometimes emotional.
Emotions can get expensive.
But they can get expensive and they can waste a lot of money.
Which brings us right back to where we started. Frank and Melissa getting reconnected emotionally, but staying disconnected financially, at least in their minds. In reality, every dime they each spend counts as community debt. Fortunately, that's something it doesn't look like these two will ever have to worry about.
Kiss your beautiful bride.
Happy ending to a divorce story. How about that? Judges in the family court division do all they can to encourage divorcing couples to settle, to use a mediator or whatever else, anything to avoid a time-consuming and expensive all-out trial. And they have all kinds of resources to guide you through the process, videos of what to expect. They may be able to help you find free legal advice as well. You'll find a link to all those resources on news3lv.com.
You know, when we were talking about the story, I was thinking about the opening scene of The Wedding Crashers, and there's that couple there who's going at it, and you have Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson helping them through the process. But yes, it is so emotional, even in a comedy like that, and in real life, and costly.
It can be acrimonious, and as Tom Standish pointed out, that can get expensive, which is another thing we really didn't have time to get into. But judges and good lawyers will say, hey, what are you fighting over, and is it really worth the cost in the end?
Something to think about.
Yep.